So when we talk about India, generally there are many things that comes to mind. When we talk about it, let's take a look at why we titled this session as Incredible India. It's known for its diversities, incredible diversities for that reason. I believe some of you might be aware that there are more than 1,000 languages spoken in this country, which are the highest. And according to 1962 census, that time in 1962, they recorded more than 1,652 languages were spoken in India. And the advantage of so many variegated languages is such, nobody bothers about your accent. All the major world religions are represented in India. We have plenty of temples for, like Hindu temples. We have plenty of mosques. We have plenty of churches. We also have Parsi temples, they call Temple of Fire. The places of worship of Zoroastrians and many other religions. Another thing, in terms of civilization, I'll be speaking ahead about it. It's another thing. So, Varanasi, for an example, is one of the oldest, city which have had a continuous, track record of people living in the city for more than 3,000 years. Now, these are the modern researchers who are identifying this thing. Along with that, world's first university was established in India. And we know that as Takshila, and that was not the only university. There was Nalanda, there were many universities that came after that. And it's not that before Takshila there were no universities. Actually, traditionally we have had a Gurukul system, Vedic education system. The idea of university was different. That allowed, right now, the problem of India is of brain drain, they say, right? The people study in IITs and other colleges and they go apart. However, at that time in Takshila and Nalanda universities were there, the written records of people from all over the world coming to India and studying. And there were more than 55 or 56 departments in these universities. However, over a period of time, because of invasion, because of foreign rule, these universities were burnt down and destroyed. However, we still do have their remains in different places which have been discovered over the period of time. So, claim that Britishers gave us education, the claim that Indians uneducated and uncultured is false. Through the discussion, you will see the biggest irony is, although all these discoveries are not through the Puranas or Vedic scriptures, we're not quoting that. These are the studies or the discoveries through the archaeological findings, which have been existing for several decades now. However, our history books have not changed. Our history books still teaches the same thing. We'll take a look at it why and so. Bhaskaracharya was the first to discover gravity 500 years before Sir Isaac Newton. He was the first who gave a very simple method to find out the circumference of planet Earth. He was the first who identified. In the noted context, he was the first as a scientist, as a scholar. He was a great mathematician, he was a great scientist, he was a great astronomer. He was the first who figured out the distances between different planets, distance between planet Earth and different planets. How many of you have gone to an astrologer in your life? Now, when you go to an astrologer, the very first thing, in case if he has to make your birth chart, the very first thing he asks is the time. When the first time machine or the device to measure time was created? It was 1602, 16th century in the Europe. Which means in Europe, prior to that, they had no means to measure time. And we have been having this way of, but the birth chart was prepared for Krishna also. You all would have heard of this thing in Mahabharata and in Vishnu. Also for Lord Ram. The science of astrology had been existing for millions of years. And they asked for your time of birth. Then, based on the astronomical calculations, based on the movements of the planets, they say this is what's going to happen in the future for you. This is how Shani ki Dasha. Sabne suna hai ye. Now, we all have heard of this. Now, this has been very recent discovery of the invention, where NASA had created an observatory after 1950 or somewhere around that. However, our scholars, one thing interesting about our scholars and scientists of our culture were, they all were sages. They all were saintly people, and they all knew without any mechanical means of observation how to figure out the distances and such mathematical calculation. Even if you go to some roadside Pandit who may not have any education, he can tell you Shani ki dasha kya hai, kis samay pe kya hoga, Rahu ki dasha kya hai. These are in English translated to different planetary systems which are taught to us. Let's take a look at some of the other prominent personalities, what they have to speak about Incredible India. This is Mr. Hu Shi, former ambassador of China to USA, and he said, India conquered, pay attention, India conquered and dominated China culturally for 20 centuries without ever having to send a single soldier across her border. In essence, we'll see ahead in the discussion how India as a country, as a nation, as a Bharat, socially, culturally, we were vibrant all across the globe. But there was never an act of conversion, there was never an act of exploiting the natives of that land. This is Robert Oppenheimer, one of the scientists or prominent scientists involved in the invention, if you want to call it, of the nuclear weapon. And he says, access to the Vedas is the greatest privilege this century may claim over all previous centuries. And the best part about the Vedas, we are taught its mythology. Einstein, we owe a lot to the Indians who taught us how to count, without which no worthwhile scientific discovery could have been made. Before British era, the British rule began somewhere in the 17th century, India as a country was the largest producer or manufacturer of the ships, and it had more than 34,000 ships, and the ships of our country were the strongest and the tallest. We all are taught in our history books that India was discovered by Vasco da Gama, right? You all are familiar with that. Now, Vasco da Gama was born in Portugal, and his counterpart was Columbus, Christopher Columbus, who was born in Spain or Italy, if I'm correct. However, Christopher Columbus wanted to go after the search, wanted to find the land of India. Now, why somebody would want to come from Italy, Spain, or that part of European nation to India, unless there is something worthwhile in it? So Columbus went on the western direction, and Vasco da Gama came on the eastern direction. When Christopher went on the western direction, he reached America. That's the reason when he reached America, when he landed there, the people, the natives of that land, when he met, he termed them as Indians, which later on, when the French and the Britishers went there, because they were red-skinned, they were later on known as Red Indians. Now, Vasco da Gama was very scared, was a very fearful sailor. He didn't have enough courage to go into the sea. So he was coasting along the coastline, and he came across some of the islands across Africa. And when he was traveling through in search of India, he just wanted to make sure that I'm coasting with a visible sight of a land. The reason it is said, if you go into the Portugal museum, which is mentioned about this personality, the ship that Vasco da Gama was carrying, of that time of the Europe, was the biggest and the largest ship. And he parked and he got down at one particular island, and there he met a Gujarati by the name of Kana. And during that time, during the interaction, Kana got to know that this person, Vasco da Gama, wanted to go to India. He said, well, no problem, I'll take you to India. He said, how will you take me to India? I said, I have 12 ships that I have brought from Gujarat to here for the purpose of business. He said, can you show me your ships? So when this Vasco da Gama saw the ships of this Kana, the Vasco da Gama ship was like an ant in front of an elephant. The size of the ships that Indians had were, it said, 12 times more bigger than the ship that Vasco da Gama was carrying, and that was the biggest ship of whole of Europe. And these 12 ships escorted this Vasco da Gama and brought him to India. So ultimately, question rises: who discovered India? Kana or Vasco da Gama?